Put that grill out right now! Her voice cut through the park like a siren. A woman, phone clutched tight, glaring at a black father flipping burgers for his kids. To her, he wasn't a dad making memories. He was a problem to be erased. The children's laughter froze as strangers gathered, watching. She smirked, dialing 911. What she didn't know was that in less than 10 minutes, the entire city would turn against her. Have you ever seen power flip so fast? Tell us in comments. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. It was a warm Saturday afternoon, the kind that carried the smell of grilled food through the air and the sound of children running free. Marcus, a proud father of 2, had chosen this park for one simple reason. It was where his own father used to bring him. The picnic tables, the shade of the old oak trees, the little patch of grass where kids could toss a ball, it all felt like home. For Marcus, this wasn't just a barbecue. It was tradition, a chance to pass down something small but meaningful. He wasn't a man of wealth or titles. He worked long hours as a city bus driver, wearing the same blue uniform day after day, quietly ensuring people got where they needed to go. To his kids, though, he was a hero, the one who made sure birthdays had cake, weekends had laughter, and no dream felt too far out of reach. With every burger flipped, he reminded himself why he pushed through the tough shifts, for them. But as the smoke from his grill rose into the sky, so did the silent tension. Across the park, eyes were on him. Not the kind of eyes that shared in his joy, but the kind that judged. One woman in particular stood out, her posture stiff, her expression sharp. To Marcus, she was just another stranger passing by. He had no idea that in her mind, his family's barbecue wasn't a celebration, but a disturbance. That's the thing about racism. It doesn't always knock on the door. Sometimes it waits quietly, watching, ready to turn a normal afternoon into a storm. And Marcus was about to step into one without warning. What would you do if a perfect family moment suddenly turned into a public attack? The sound of laughter carried across the park, but it didn't sit well with Karen. Every time she glanced at Marcus by the grill, her frown deepened. She tapped her foot, muttering under her breath about rules and order, convincing herself that calling the police was not just her right, but her duty. With every passing minute, she grew bolder, circling closer, her phone already gripped tight in her hand. Marcus, meanwhile, was lost in the rhythm of family. His son tugged at his sleeve, asking for another hot dog. His daughter held up a kite, begging him to help her untangle the string. To him, this was joy, the kind of afternoon he'd been working toward all week. He didn't notice the sharp stares, the whispers, or the hostile energy building nearby. But Karen wasn't whispering anymore. She stood tall, voice rising for strangers to hear, accusing Marcus of breaking park rules and disturbing the peace. People turned their heads. Some watched with discomfort, others with quiet judgment. Marcus looked up, spatula still in hand, confused by the sudden hostility aimed at him. His kids froze, their laughter cut short, sensing something was wrong. Then, the inevitable, the sharp tone of authority on the other end of Karen's phone. She was calling the police. To her, it was power. To Marcus, it was danger. He knew how fast such calls could escalate, how quickly an innocent man could become a suspect. His heart pounded, but he tried to stay calm for his children, even as they clung to him, eyes wide with fear. The park atmosphere shifted. Families who had been enjoying their day now whispered, recording with their phones, sensing a confrontation brewing. Marcus felt the heat of humiliation, being treated like a criminal for feeding his own kids in a public space. What he didn't know was that this call, this moment, would not end the way Karen expected. The police were coming, yes, but so was someone else. And their arrival would turn this entire scene upside down. Would Karen still feel powerful when the truth came out? Or would she crumble under the weight of her own actions? The sirens cut through the warm afternoon air, sharp and piercing. Karen's face lit up with satisfaction, as if victory was only moments away. She pointed toward Marcus like she was unveiling a crime. Her voice grew louder, insisting that he was a threat, that his barbecue was dangerous. For Marcus, the ground beneath him seemed to vanish. His children clung to his sides, eyes full of fear, silently asking if their father was in trouble. The officers stepped out of their cars, tension heavy in their movements. Hands hovered near belts. Their eyes scanned the scene, not with warmth, but suspicion. Marcus raised his hand slightly, spatula still in one, trying to show he meant no harm. His chest tightened with every second of silence, aware of how quickly misunderstandings could turn deadly. He thought of headlines he'd read, names turned into hashtags, fathers who never made it home. Karen, emboldened, repeated her accusations. "He doesn't belong here. He's disturbing everyone. Arrest him!" Her voice cracked with fake urgency, desperate to make her story stick. Strangers around the park pulled out phones, recording. Some whispered in protest, others just watched, frozen between fear and outrage. Marcus's world slowed. His children's frightened faces burned in his mind. He wondered if this was the moment they'd remember forever, the day their father was dragged away in front of them. His heart pounded so loudly it drowned out the shouts around him. Then through the noise, another sound broke in, the sharp voice of authority, but not from the police. A sleek black car pulled up, and out stepped the mayor himself. He walked straight through the crowd, eyes locked on Marcus, ignoring Karen's frantic pointing. In front of everyone, his voice rang out, steady and powerful. "Brother," the crowd gasped. Phones shook in people's hands. Karen's smirk fell into panic. She had no idea who Marcus really was, or how this single word would shatter her world. What do you think happens next? Will the mayor stand with Marcus? Or will the situation spiral even further before the truth is revealed? Karen's knees almost buckled. The word brother echoed through the park, not as slang, but with a weight that silenced every whisper. The mayor strode forward, embracing Marcus in front of the stunned officers, the crowd, and most importantly, his children. It wasn't just a greeting. It was recognition, respect, and a shield against the storm Karen had unleashed. The officers froze, realizing they had nearly treated the mayor's closest ally like a criminal. Phones recorded every second, ensuring the moment would spread far beyond the park. Karen's face drained of color. She tried to speak, to twist her story into something less hateful, but the damage was done. The crowd that once hesitated now murmured in disapproval, their eyes fixed on her, not Marcus. Marcus held his kids close, relief washing over him in a flood. For a moment, he stood taller, not because of the mayor's protection, but because the truth had been forced into the open. He was never the threat. He was never the problem. Karen's prejudice had been exposed under the brightest spotlight she could never have imagined. The mayor didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His calm words cut sharper than anger. "This is a father, a citizen, a man who belongs here as much as anyone." The officers backed down, their silence an admission of guilt. Karen, once so bold, now trembled, tears forming as she realized she had turned herself into the villain of her own story. By evening, the videos were everywhere. Headlines called it another example of everyday racism, but also a powerful reminder of solidarity. Marcus's children went to bed that night knowing their father wasn't just defended, he was honored. And Karen? She was left with the world's judgment, a reminder that racism never hides for long. It exposes itself in the harshest light. So here's the question. How many more barbecues, walks, or quiet afternoons must be disrupted before society finally learns? Show some love with a like and subscribe to stay inspired.